All right. And we are back for another week of The Script is Better.
Woo! Hello.
Hello. I like that enthusiasm, Beck, because we're going to need it, or we deserve it after reading this great script this week. It is Weird Science.
Yes.
I literally can't say it any other way.
Weird Science. Like the Green Giant commercials?
It's almost like that, but I actually watched the TV series, and I'm pretty sure that's how it would go. It would go, Weird Science.
And then the Green Giant guy would walk across the screen?
The Green Giant was never involved.
Wow.
Never.
Some plagiarism going on there for sure.
I don't think the Green Giant company owns that, like, from low to high. High to low.
No? Okay, fine.
Are you able to copyright that?
I guess it's just a progression and it's such a short one that you wouldn't be able to, but maybe.
That aside.
Back to scripts.
So, we'll start out back today just by asking probably the most important question. Did you like Weird Science, the script?
You didn't say it properly, but yes, I did like Weird Science. I loved this script, actually, despite there being some problematic and outdated views. It was thoroughly enjoyable. It was a really easy read, and there were many, many laugh-out-loud moments.
I mean, it's great that you brought up the problematic views right off the bat, because I have a lot of, like, conflicting opinions about it, or, like, conflicting perspectives on it, because I think John Hughes was trying to do something with the character of Lisa. The character Lisa is the character that is created by these teenage kids, and I think he was trying to do something, like, she is literally the fantasy of what a woman would be according to a 15-year-old child, and, like, at times she acts like that and she talks like that, and she calls the master at one point. I don't know, I don't remember. But he's trying to do something. Like, Lisa always has a goal, like, she has an intention behind everything she does, but it still doesn't necessarily forgive everything that the way that she was portrayed in the film.
Being in red panties and, like, a crop top for a lot of it, or naked in a shower, or...
Well, you can't actually see those things when you're reading the script, so I didn't realize that there was the crop top and red panties.
They say that.
Do they?
They talk about her red G-string, about how her, their crop top, and then they talk about how she showered with Wyatt and Gary.
I remember that, and then, like, they're in swimsuits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that she's serving, like, she's got one goal the whole time, and that's, like, the betterment of these two boys, to kind of bring them out of their shell. I definitely don't like how she puts it. Says, I'm going to quote it. She says, "Before I came here, you were a couple of ridiculous dweebs hopelessly beating out cold, empty fantasies on a computer. Look at you now. You're a couple of human beings." And I thought that meant that her goal was to get them, like, girlfriends and turn them into real men, and that the only way to do that was to have them gain the confidence to get a girl. And yeah, so that was problematic for me, but it did definitely feel like that was her goal the entire time, and in every scene she's kind of working towards doing little things that will contribute to raising their confidence in that way.
Yeah,
but
I don't think...
There's nothing wrong with being ridiculous dweebs hopelessly beating out cold, empty fantasies on a computer. More power to you. Have fun. Do what you love, and if that's what you love, then go for it.
Fine, yeah. I respect her intentions, I think, a little bit more than you do in that case, because I think that it's a film about two kids growing into adulthood in a certain way. It's not just about getting girlfriends. It's about standing up for yourself, taking responsibility for yourself as well. Even though I guess they don't always really take responsibility for themselves, but at least they stand up for themselves towards the end, and loosening up, realizing that there's more outside of their fantasies and their games that they play at home.
So she does have some noble motivations, but I did see that the follow through wasn't necessarily always the best. And even in that little blurb that I quoted, she says that the boys were a couple ridiculous dweebs. And then she talks in the next paragraph, defending women. She says, "Women are flesh and blood. They aren't pictures in magazines or ingredients for perverted dreams. If you spent your whole life believing that you'd be no better than your fantasies, and guys, let me tell you, they were seriously gross." She's saying that their fantasies were seriously gross and that women are flesh and blood, but at the same time you're calling these men who also are flesh and blood ridiculous dweebs. You know, she's insulting them and insulting their views, but I feel as if maybe the best way to change a person's opinion is to have respect the whole time. You know?
Yeah, my problem, I actually don't have a problem with what she said. Mm-hmm. I think she was right, but partly that stems from the fact that I don't understand why she helps them. I think this is my main gripe with the entire film, in fact. It's the fact that maybe Wyatt, okay, fine, he's just a lonely, shy, nervous kid that needs some help along the way. But Gary, from everything he says and from his actions, he seems like kind of an ass. I don't feel like he deserved any help. I don't know why she was helping him. Maybe she thought she saw something in him that everyone else didn't. But what came across on screen, or in the script rather, there was the moment when they're in the bar near the beginning of the film, and he's talking about this girl that he had a crush on who ended up kicking him in the balls or kneeing him in the balls. The way he was talking about how he kind of stalked her almost, and just calling her a bitch throughout the thing. From that moment on, I was like, well, I'm not sympathizing with Gary. I don't care. I don't know why she's helping him. Yeah.
I mean, he was drunk at that point.
So? I don't think anyone can use the drunk excuse as to defend anything.
No, not even a 16-year-old that's never drank before?
No.
Yeah, so he ended up calling her every night, and then he rode his bike past her place a few times. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, he did have some stalker vibes going to him. I think that they tried to make that a little bit endearing later. Because with his love interest, I forget which girl he ends up with. Is it Deb?
Or Hillary. I think they're kind of interchangeable as far as the script goes.
Yeah, fair. She says, call me, and he says, every day.
Right.
So that's just part of his personality. He's the guy who wants to hear from his love every day, whether she wants him to, if that's the case, or doesn't, in this nameless girl's case. Yeah, so I wasn't put off by that. I was like, okay, sure.
I don't know. Okay, well that's kind of our general view about the script and it. I enjoyed the script too. But how did you find the read? Did you, in terms of just enjoying it, we both liked it in general, but did you find that it flowed well? Did you find that you were kind of engrossed in it, or were you taken out of it at all?
Oh, I was definitely engrossed in it. I thought it flowed very easily, and the narrative for me was such a joy to read. He uses words that I hadn't seen in other scripts before, which is crazy that people aren't, or at least in the scripts that I am reading, people aren't copying his style. Even just straight from the beginning, he says a somber super. And for anyone listening that doesn't know, it stands for superimpose, and it's when you put some text on the screen, and just having a descriptor for what kind of super it's going to be, what kind of text this is. It's somber text. I thought that was so interesting, and I've never seen or thought to myself, I should describe what kind of super this is. That was so cool. And there's some other words that definitely popped for me as well. When he talks about the female punk, he calls her a punkette. And I was like, brilliant. That's brilliant. I've never heard punkette before. And I thought that was so funny. And then one more big one. It's little rather. So in parentheticals, you usually put a line read if it's not obvious to the actor how a dialogue is meant to be said. And in one, he puts confidentially. And I've seen whispers or quietly or to himself or low before, but I've never seen confidentially. And I think that that's such a better word. And it allows the actor to do so many different things as opposed to whispers, which is just the one thing. Just the way that he writes in that way gives so much information, but also allows the most amount of freedom, and finding that balance is a really hard thing to do. And it was a joy to read, and I felt like reading the script was kind of a masterclass in those sort of things.
Cool. Yeah. I'm going to jump on this so much information thing that you said near the end there. because while he did feature words that impregnated the script with a lot of information, like you were saying, I think he forgot to add in some information, or he made some jumps near the beginning. I felt in particular, they just seem to get to the point where they're making this woman. It comes out of nowhere. They're just it's never even mentioned that Wyatt has computer skills or that he has this advanced computer that could do anything. It's just like, we're bored on this day, and it's like, let's make a woman.
Yeah.
and like, we're gonna do it. And like, what? How did we get from A to Z just like that?
From like hacking into this computer, which is explained that he does have some knowledge into doing this, so he's able to do that. But then from that step, even going to all of these cables from every other machine in the house being hooked up to this computer. I'm like, what? Where did you even
are the
find
logical steps? Yeah.
Yeah.
What's in your head? Like, okay, if we connect all these wires, it's gonna work out.
Yeah. And what did they call them? They're like the sister clips or whatever. They just
clamp them on a bar.
Yeah. You just we're just gonna put all of this electricity from every other appliance in this house onto this piece of plastic.
Yeah. It's like, if we attach enough wires, nobody's gonna question the science.
Absolutely. It's weird. I mean, granted, well done for delivering on the name of the film. But yeah, there were some jumps, even right off the bat. So they're watching this movie and they're talking, and then one of them starts recalling a memory from 8th grade. And I was like, are you not in 8th grade? Just the way that they were talking and how they were scared of this movie, I thought that they were much younger than they were. And then later you find out they're kind of 16, and I was like, oh, I definitely thought you were 13, 14 at best.
Right.
So, yeah, leaving out some information for sure. But again, that could be because he's directing it and he knows. But yours is a story point, so mine wasn't necessarily a story point. Yours for sure, that jump was jarring and not like a director-writer omission.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and in terms of plot holes, they actually give away the idea that they can just make people. Okay, well, let's not even get past that. Let's not even get to that point. So it's not even that they reveal that they can make a person who has magical powers. It's the fact that they can literally, like, this is just science that's out in the universe now. They could keep making people that are just magical.
That's true.
They try to do it a second time later in the film, and circumstances mess it up for them.
Yeah, like, because they hook it up to a magazine by accident. Yeah. But what else could they hook it up to?
A Barbie again, then that would have made a woman. That's how science works, Beck.
If that's what they'd want, but hooking it up to a magazine still yields this crazy, like, upside down bizarro world where weather's happening indoors. So, like, if you hook it up to, like, a dog, what's gonna happen? Or, like, something living, like, what? Yeah. Not just...
They can create anything.
Just clamps attaching every appliance in your house.
Yeah. That's and like anyone else could do this too. They just have to have the knowledge. And it's like we gloss over that. We gloss over. We don't even talk about it.
Yeah.
And then to the people that they should hate the most, their rivals, they give this knowledge to.
Yeah. That's true. Well, they kind of explain it to anyone who asks. And so does Lisa. Lisa's just like, yeah, this is what happened.
I think most people don't believe them, and so it's okay. But then they actually show Ian and the other guy.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah. So we mentioned problematic earlier. So, one of the problematic things for me was definitely that the way that they talk about women. I know they're 16. And so maybe they haven't learned yet. And also this film was written math years ago in the 80s. So things have changed for sure. But their reason for making this, Gary says, is we'll practice on it. We can try out sick shit. Ask it questions, put it in true life sexual situations and see how it reacts. Like, okay, sorry. You want to create a woman so you can like test out your like greatest perversions and just see if she'll be okay with it or not?
I was a little bit more forgiving about this one because I think that they didn't think that they could actually make a woman. I think they thought they were making like a 3D model on a computer that would basically answer questions and not actually be able to do anything. They'd be able to be like, what if we did this to you? And then should be able to say something back. I don't think that they actually believed they could make a person and that they would fuck.
But it's a being that had the like consciousness to be able to answer those questions truthfully.
Maybe, yeah, but I think they really thought of her as like a computer, just like an extension of a computer, like Data.
Right.
Whereas like we don't know what she actually is. She's just a genie. She's a genie Beck.
Okay, so let's say we just forgive that one. I had a couple more that give me. I mean, just the talk
you played
of
your trump card early.
bus lines and that sort of stuff was also problematic. I didn't love it.
Yeah, that I think is very much like a teenage kind of thing, but it's also like a teenage movie kind of thing. I can say, being a man, it never got to that point. Like secrets from the minds of teenagers. It never got to that point, at least with my friends. Like we were never sitting around talking about the bus lines that we'd want. So I don't know if this is just one of those things where 2 or 3 people talked like this and they all became writers and now everyone thinks it because they wrote this into all their movies. Like this is the way John Hughes used to talk to his friends, and so he's like, this is how all teenagers are. And now the world thinks that all teenagers are like this. Or, maybe a lot of people are. Maybe my friends were just unusual.
Oh, okay. So here's 2 other ones that I found. When they're popping their popcorn and Wyatt says, the butter's fine, Gare, don't get your tits in an uproar. I was like, why does he have tits and why are they in an uproar? Why can't we insult him for something that he has? Like, I don't turn to a woman and say, get your penis out of this. Like I don't hear like, don't get your penis, don't get your balls in an uproar. I don't understand why they're like using a feminine attribute to insult a man.
I think you do understand. Like, I don't want to be rude, but I think you do understand it. You like that's. Like,
yes, so that's the problem.
Sissy,
don't do it.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I think it's frowned on more these days, but we're also not young, so maybe it's more prevalent than we know. Maybe it's just like our friends don't do it.
Yeah, totally. And the other one was, and since you're on the rag this bad, no more period jokes. 1982, 4, fine.
Yeah, it's true. This wasn't actually a thing that they said in particular, but Lisa really is just treated like she is a mother that they can fuck.
Oh, totally.
Which is, I guess, some male's fantasy.
Yeah. They both can fuck.
They both can fuck, yeah, but they'll get jealous if the other one fucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they say that she never did fuck Wyatt, but I think sometimes they imply that she did, so it's hard to say for sure. I'm honestly not sure right now if they slept together or not.
She slept with Ian and a friend.
Yeah. Well, you turn into a donkey if you sleep with her, apparently, so.
Yeah. That
was a weird ending, eh? It goes lots of different directions.
For the epilogue?
The epilogue and just her powers. Like, that's one thing that I can comment again on is just like her powers are never defined. It seems like she can call anything into being. She can affect anyone and anything in any way she wants. She is a god. Not only did they create their vision of the perfect woman, they created a god.
Absolutely, they did. Yeah, I had some issues with that as well. Like the Ferrari and the Porsche disappear when they're no longer needed, and then the house starts going back to normal when she tells them that she's going to Vegas and she kind of says her goodbyes, but then a lot of the magic stays and it's just kind of pick and choose. I definitely noted that felt strange to me that Ian and friend, God, what is his name, stayed as the ass and the pig at the end of the film.
And Chet got turned.
Yeah, Chet got turned. So I never thought for a second that wasn't going to happen if he messed up. Like, I always believed that magic would endure, so I guess some of the other stuff had to as well to keep that going. But I also didn't think that she would be able to exist outside of their reality.
Right.
And so her being able to be in Vegas without either of them felt strange to me.
Yeah. She'll probably just, like, survive forever and be all-powerful.
Great.
Good for her.
But she'll have a lonely life eventually after she keeps turning all these people into animals.
I mean, if a couple of regular teenagers can figure out the science on how to make a person, she could probably do the same.
Oh, true.
How about the characters, Beck? Did you have any like favorite characters in it?
No. You saw the difference between Wyatt and Gary a lot more than I did. So in terms of the two of them, I didn't have a favorite. I just kind of took them as one person in two different places. But I really liked Lisa. I mean, in terms of that being a fun role, to just be able to say the truth all the time and just to shut people down and just to always be able to conjure anything you wanted. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, to be a god, yeah.
Yeah. Did you have a favorite character?
I was looking for the character right off the bat that Robert Downey Jr. was going to play. I was like, he's going to be my favorite character. it was disappointing for me to learn a little ways into it that it's actually one of the bad kids, the Ian.
Robert Downey Jr. is in this?
Yeah, I thought he was going to be one of the main characters, one of the kids.
I thought you were just saying, like, Robert Downey Jr. is probably in every 80s movie, so I wonder what character he would play. I had no idea he was in it. Oh, that's exciting.
He's either Ian or the other kid that we can't remember the name of.
Great. Well, I'm so excited to see him turn into a pig or a donkey.
Yeah. That's also, I don't know, that's maybe I'm looking forward to just his role because he's so big these days. I'd love to see how he was when he was starting out, when he got his initial fame.
Before all the drugs and the disappearance.
Yeah, exactly. What are you looking for in this film? Like, what are you most excited about?
I am most excited about the house flipping after the boys attempt to make a second woman. I'm excited for that, to see all of that come to life. And just because in the early 80s, special effects were not the same as they are today. So I imagine that a lot of that stuff will be done without CGI. And I'm excited to see that because often that does look more real. Like, I don't know, like I assume that a missile coming up from the ground is actually going to be like a big fake missile that they've made that's going to come through the bottom of this house. So I'm excited to see that. And then, just the story of Wyatt and Gary coming into their confidence. I'm excited to see that whole thing play out. I think that they're funny and it'll be nice. And the delivery on all of these epic insults, honestly. We didn't talk about them yet, but they're so good. I wrote all of them down because I couldn't, like, two of them I don't understand and they're variations of the same thing, but let me just, like, rattle some of these off.
Sure.
Dip chops, schmolos, dog muffins, and cowpoke. All of these are used as insults. I love them all. Never heard them before. Thought they were great. What is a dog muffin? How is that insulting?
Like, I don't know about dog muffin, but cowpoke would be homophobic.
Really? Do gay men really enjoy cow tipping? Like, do you?
Pretty sure that it's like cowboys who are poked up the ass.
Oh. Okay, so then there's two more, which, as I said, are variations of the same thing, but I don't understand either of them. I wouldn't piss up your ass if your guts were on fire, and I wouldn't give a squirt of piss for your ass right now. I don't get them, but I can't wait to hear Chet say them.
Like, maybe he means like I wouldn't fuck you up the ass, but I'm pretty sure he's just saying like I wouldn't do the simplest thing for you, right?
The simplest thing: piss up your ass if your guts were on fire.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't
even do that. I wouldn't even do that simple thing for you. Piss up your ass to save your life. Yeah.
It does kind of sound like the guy who's trying to like convince you that he's not gay. Yeah. And he's like, I wouldn't do that for you. You know, like, you don't need me to do that, right?
What are you most excited to see?
So beyond the Robert Downey Jr. of it all, I guess I'm most excited for the first bar scene. I did enjoy them. Like, I think it's a classic maybe 80s, maybe 90s thing where it's like the fool triumphant, where these people who are so out of their element they just act like themselves and end up impressing everyone by accident. So like Gary leaning against the glass rack and then it falling and him catching all of them and building a tower. Yeah. The glasses are like, that's a classic scene. I'm excited about that. And then Wyatt being like thrown out onto the dance floor and like doing a cool dance move as a result and everyone being impressed. Yeah. So I'm excited for those kind of things.
Yeah, it's a very visual script, so it'll be fun to see how that all plays out.
I think we've made a lot of what the problems are with it, which are the same problems that you would have in a lot of 80s teen comedies. Mm-hmm. Like I know even that Molly Ringwald has like gone on record as like having some problems with some of the John Hughes films that she was in, just like some moments in them. So there's going to be those things. Like he wasn't perfect in any way.
Yeah, I've heard it said before, but all the favorites are problematic in some way from that time. So
yeah, and it's like rightfully so. Things have gotten better, more woke since in certain ways, but like time marches on, and like time changes our views on a lot of things. So we're always gonna have a little judgment for the classics.
Yeah.
Except for Seven Samurai, perfect film, perfect script.
Call back. If you haven't listened to it, go now. It's goody.
Yeah, but before going to listen to it, go read the script.
Absolutely. It's a masterclass.
All right. Well, Beck, is there anything else that you kind of took a note of with this script or this story?
No, I think we touched on everything that I was
Fantastic.
Actually, no, there's one more thing they talk about, inversion boots, and that was hilarious to me only because of my own life. I dated someone who was obsessed with inversion boots, and it almost broke us up. And I thought that they were a new thing, and like his need to have these inversion boots when he was so broke, I didn't understand. I was like, whatever, like you don't need to have it now. I understand it just came on the market, you can get them later. But knowing that they were written into this script got me so curious, and I ended up looking them up and then going down this inversion therapy hole for a while, which was pretty cool. I like when scripts teach me things. Did you know that people have been hanging upside down since 3000 BC? Fun tidbit there. And inversion therapy got really famous in the 1970s, just in case you're curious.
I can honestly say I've never been curious about that. But it's good to know. I'm sure it's, in the way the universe works, for some reason, it's going to come up. There's going to be like some kind of trivia this weekend. I'm going to be like, I know all about inversion boot.
Totally. Okay, so one more last fact for you. They were made famous by Richard Gere in American Gigolo in 1980.
If you had asked how they became famous, that's how I would have answered.
Yeah, Richard Gere.
Yeah. Perfect. The script has been fun to read, but I have a feeling that the movie's going to be even better. I'm excited to watch it.
Yeah. All right. Stay tuned, and we'll find out if John says woke again.
The podcast might as well just be called John Says Woke.
Amazing. Okay. It's my turn to ask a question. So, John, here it is. What filmmaker, alive or dead, would you want to meet?
I'm going to go kind of basic on this one. I think I would want to meet Steven Spielberg.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah.
Just off of Jurassic Park. Did he do Jurassic Park?
He did Jurassic Park, yeah. For sure. And
do you know what you talked to him about?
What would I talk to him about? I probably talk to him about Jurassic Park. I would also talk to him about Indiana Jones, and just, I'd ask the basic questions too, like what inspires him. I would ask for tips. I would ask for how he makes his distinctive style, because there are certain things that he does that I really appreciate. I don't think all of his films. Just looking at some of his films, like we've got E.T., we've got E.T., Goonies, even Jurassic Park, the most recent one with the video games. People are going to hate me for not remembering all these, but I just have a bad memory for names a lot of the time. But just the fact is, even though I said the one with all the kids and you were able to name the Goonies, I feel like he focuses most of his stories on young children. Like it's kids taking on these adventures in these scenarios. And so it would be interesting to me to find out why he is so focused on that period in a child's life, in a person's life. Like, what makes that special? Is it because that, like, they have more adventurous spirit in some way in his mind, or is there something else? Like, even Jurassic Park, we had the two kids that went on this adventure as well. So I'd be interested to know that.
Very cool. As you were talking, I just brought up his IMDb, and just some of the things that are coming up are very exciting.
Oh, new things?
Who Framed Roger Rabbit 2? Jurassic World 3? Another Indiana Jones?
Let me ask you this. Is he listed as director or as producer of these?
Producer.
That I'm less excited about, because I like when he is actually taking the helm and he's directing things, that's great. But I find so many good producers, so many good directors, when they produce things, like they're putting their name to things and they're putting their money behind things, but they're not putting as much input. And I don't feel like the films are as good as they could be. Right. Like, I'm not as excited about Jurassic World. I didn't really care for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he will be directing the Indiana Jones project, though.
Great, yeah. And so that'll be the new Indiana Jones. I think it's supposed to be a course correction after the last Indiana Jones.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. No, less Shia LaBeouf, more classic Indiana Jones.
As in no Shia LaBeouf?
As in no Shia LaBeouf.
Okay.
I would hope, at least. Not that Shia LaBeouf is not what ruined that film. That film just had so many problems. But I don't think I was excited about Indiana Jones being a family man. Like, it's great. I mean, as an ending, him getting married, that's fine. But him having a son, they were just trying to, like, I don't know. It feels like they're just trying to spin stuff off and, like, here's a new Indiana Jones, his son.
Right.
So, come hit me up, Steven Spielberg.
Okay, we're back. Now we've just finished watching Weird Science. How did you like the film, Beck?
I loved the film. I thought it was so much fun. I was really excited to see these words come to life. I thought it was lots of laughs. Yeah, we can get into specifics more, but in general, a good time.
Good time. Laugh out loud riots.
Yeah, you can put that on VHS box. What about you? How did you feel about it?
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it as well. I don't think I loved it the way you did, but I had fun.
Fun.
Yeah. My biggest criticism of it was the acting. I was not a big fan of the acting.
What? Oh my gosh. Is it somebody in particular or just in general? Because it could be two people. Okay, great. Who are the two people?
Okay, I'm going to probably butcher his name, but it was Elon Mitchell-Smith, the kid who played Wyatt.
Okay.
I just thought he was wooden and he had no emotion in anything he said. Whereas, especially when he was playing beside and against Anthony Michael Hall, who just had so much emotion and he put so much character into everything he did, it just seemed like Smith was phoning it in.
Right.
Yeah. And then Kelly Lebrock, I wasn't a big fan of her either.
Is she Lisa?
She is Lisa, yeah. Yeah, I just thought that it lacked emotion as well.
For Wyatt and Lisa. Interesting. Well, this was one of the actor who played Wyatt. I think this was one of his only roles, or at least one of his like last roles. I did look up his IMDb briefly and I did see that he didn't do much acting after this, because just looking at his like appearance alone, I was like, oh, this is a guy who probably had a long career afterwards. And I'm sure if I look at his following credits, I'll be able to recognize him from stuff because he's got that leading man face. And then there was like nothing current. I was like, oh, or not.
That's true. He looks a little like, I'm blanking on his name, but a very famous actor. Matthew Broderick.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah, just when he was young. Maybe
John Hughes just likes that face.
Maybe.
Matthew Broderick-esque guys and everything that he does.
Yeah, totally.
Very cool. I thought the Lisa character was good. I enjoyed it. Yeah, there's nothing about anybody's acting except for Robert Downey Jr.'s that I was like, merp.
Merp? you were really merp on Robert Downey Jr.?
Yeah, like RTJ. I think that his hair was fantastic, but him, I was like, what is this character? I don't know. Like, I feel like he only had a little bit on the page, and he was like, I'm gonna like make some choices, and I'm gonna go like I'm gonna bring it. And then just what happened? If you put all of his scenes back to back, I was just like, I don't get it.
He was zany for sure. Yeah. I thought he was very Robert Downey Jr. though, and maybe that's just the impression he has these days.
He's just so himself.
Oh my god. Okay. Well, here, how about we start now that we've gotten our first impressions out of the way? How about we start where we kind of always start? How closely did it kind of stick to the script? Anything you noticed standing out?
In general, it was pretty close, but then there were some like little tweaks here and there that I thought changed a bunch of things. First and foremost, just the opening scene, like right out of the gate, is different. We lost something that I loved so much in the script, and that was the somber super.
Are you sure? Was that super not somber enough?
No, it did not start with a somber super, and I was sad about it. Yeah.
Sounds like you turned somber.
It just breaks right into the men in the gym class.
Yes. I agree, but I thought they didn't have that men in the gym class scene in the script at all. I thought that was a great scene on its own. Like, it showed their characters, their relationship to Ian, I think, or whoever the other kid, Chet. No, not Chet. Sorry. Whoever the Robert Downey Jr. and his friend character are, it showed that relationship. It showed their goal, which was get into a relationship. Like, it really painted everything that we needed to know.
Absolutely. I would 100% agree. And it was much better than the script scene that they had, which was you were discovering their character while they were watching the movie and popping the popcorn. But in this gym scene, it was just much more succinct, quickly done, and more show versus telling, because you got to see them pitted against other characters. And at the end of the script, it's kind of bookended, which is another big change.
Yep.
In the script, Lisa tells the boys that she's going to Vegas. She's just going to live a life in Vegas for a while. And that's kind of where the script ends. But in the film, she is teaching the boys' gym class at the school. So she's definitely going to be around. And it turns the tables a little bit from like men gawking at women to a woman being in control of the men.
Okay, interesting. Because I liked both versions of it. I liked what you said, how like she's kind of like taking ownership of her role in life. But that's kind of how I saw her original choice going to Vegas. I know Vegas is kind of a cliche thing, and you can even look down on Vegas in a certain way. But it's like she's finished with her whatever she needed to do with Wyatt and Gary, and she's like, okay, I'm done this. That was my life. Now I'm going to actually go and find my own life, and that's going to start in Vegas, and that's going to be whatever it is, and I'm going to discover what that is over time. Whereas in this, I felt that in this ending, the film ending, I felt like she finished with Wyatt and Gary, and now she's just going to do it all over again with a bigger group of boys. Like, is it just her role in life now is to make boys into men?
Yeah, absolutely. And great. I think that not necessarily making boys into men, but making men more respectful of women is the journey that I saw that she took them on. And so that is something that sadly is never done, is never finished, and shouldn't certainly go beyond just the two people that she was able to help.
Okay. I'm not sure we agree.
Yeah, which is awesome. Like, I have like such an optimistic view of like her future, and I'm like, yes, you're like a warrior, and you're gonna go crush toxic masculinity throughout the high schools, like all over the world. This is great, and you're seeing it as maybe a burden, and that she's lost her agency.
Yeah, cool. Well, there were also a couple other changes. Like there was the mall scene changed a bit, where Robert Downey Jr.'s character and his friend first spot Lisa. In the film, they go down the escalator, they spy her, and they just abandon their girlfriends and go off chasing her. I thought that was a lot cleaner than it was in the script, where they spot her across the mall and they're in a boutique or something and they're doing weird things trying to get her attention.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the jumping over the escalator was very physical and funny and really smoothly done, and almost seemed like a stunt. And I was like, way to go. That was the one RDJ choice that I was like, good on you. I like it. I did think that her, though, like in her getup and like what she was just like dressed in, I didn't think that would be such like a head turning moment for two young boys to be like, wow, she's like in oversized denim, like none of her body is showing. She's wearing a lot of layers, gloves even, I think.
It was the 80s. You showed a little neck or something. I don't know. And he went wild.
Yeah.
No, that's fair. Yeah. So the only other change that I noticed, the only big change, was the ending, right? Not just the Lisa ending, but we didn't get the transformations, not as many transformations.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So in the script, why can we never remember their names? Ian and...
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's Ian and someone else. He doesn't talk very much, so I'm sorry.
But is Robert Downey Jr.'s character Ian, or were you just remembering Ian?
Robert Downey Jr.'s character is Ian, and I don't remember the other gentleman's character. But in the script, they were turned into a pig and a donkey, respectively, and in the film, they don't get turned into anything, and I think that's because they don't sleep with Lisa, right?
We never get to see them. No, they run away when the warriors get there, right?
Yeah.
The
so
bikers.
because they didn't have sex with her, they weren't turned into an animal, I guess.
Yeah.
So nobody actually had sex with her in the end.
That's true.
Whereas in the script, it was there were a few people did. So she manages to hold on to some agency in that respect and not being like a sex doll for these boys, which is nice.
I'm not in a position to make this argument. There would be people who would say her using her sex to
right. Is actually like strength and
exactly.
Yeah, totally. No, I get that.
I don't know.
Did you also think that Lisa looked like Gillian Jacobs at all? I thought like her moment where I was like, oh my god, you guys are doppelgangers.
I did not notice that.
If you made it right now, and you just wanted to do like the same thing instead of like reimagining it. Yeah. Gillian Jacobs all the way should play her.
Okay. No, that's cool. I wouldn't be opposed to that casting. But I didn't notice. No.
So there was another thing that I thought changed was in the bar scene, actually. See, you had mentioned it in the script talk that when they first go to the bar, the way that the guests in the bar become endeared to them is because they kind of embarrass themselves, but it leads to heroics in a certain way. Mm-hmm. Like Wyatt gets thrown out of the bathroom and he ends up on the dance floor, and then everyone cheers because it looks like a fun dance move, and then Gary is like knocking over some glasses and people are impressed by it, but that doesn't happen in the film.
No, instead Gary, I think, smooth talks his way into impressing people. Like,
yeah,
he admits that he's weird and young, but plays it off.
Yeah,
I think the Wyatt scene where he gets thrown out of the bathroom was cut because he definitely walks into a stall that somebody else was in already. Yeah, and that's when he gets thrown out, but it just never happened.
Yeah. Do you think anything of Gary's drunk story when so in the script you're just reading it and you know that okay, maybe this is going to be read in a certain way, but then seeing the actor deliver it in the accent that he decided to use, I was like, oh, this is a sign of the times.
Yeah.
I looked it up a little bit, actually, and he and John Hughes were watching a lot of Richard Pryor comedy sets, and they wanted to base it completely off of that.
Okay, interesting.
So that's that actor's Richard Pryor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So I think enough people have had enough of a problem with that scene that they had to like have a conversation about it sounds like.
Potentially. I'm not sure. Yeah, like, why else would that information be out there?
Yeah, if they're justifying it at all, right?
Yeah.
I don't think I felt any better about that scene. He definitely calls her a bitch at one point.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not to some people it'll have more strength than it does to other people. Like it'll be a worse word than it is to other people, but I do think that it just didn't need to be there.
Yeah. Absolutely. In general, I also liked Lisa's character in the movie more than I did in the script. Like some of the small changes that were made, I thought had a big impact. One specific line, after they leave the club and they get into the car, Lisa says, "I'm in no shape to drive tonight." But in the movie, she says, "I really don't feel like driving." So I just like that she's making these choices on purpose. It's not that she shouldn't drive because she's so drunk. It's because she doesn't want to drive because she wants the boys to come into their own as men. So that little change, I think, says a lot. And it gives her character like a lot more depth, I thought.
I completely agree.
What were you most excited to see?
Was I most excited to see? What did I say? I don't know if I had anything that I was like particularly excited to see. I know what scene I enjoyed the most.
Hit me with it.
The thing that surprised me the most, I didn't read this in the script. Like it was in the script, but I didn't visualize it like this. The thing that surprised me the most was just the special effects on Chet at the end. And I just really liked that puppet. I liked where they went with that.
Yeah.
It was like really freaky. It was so outside of anything that they had done in the film up to that point. I think it's a very 80s thing, that kind of using those kind of puppets and those creatures. I just really enjoyed it.
I really enjoyed it as well. In the script, they had referenced Star Wars.
Oh, did they reference Star Wars like Jabba the Hutt?
Yeah. They said that a Jabba the Hutt like monster. So I think they did that, not in scale, to the same scale rather, definitely much smaller and more like kooky because he was a little bit cartoonish. But yeah, I thought they did a great job and it was a lot of fun. But also, can we talk about just Chet in general and Bill Paxton and the choices that he made? He was brilliant.
Yeah.
I never would have seen Bill Paxton as that kind of character, but obviously that's where he came from. So it's nice that I've seen like his catalog afterwards and then to go back and see this and be like, holy, you've always been amazing. This is great.
I know he's a famous actor, but what other movies has he been in?
Twister.
Okay. What else?
He's passed away. He was in The Circle. That was one of the last ones that he did before he passed away.
Okay.
You would definitely recognize him from stuff.
I know I recognized the name, and I knew that he was a famous actor, but I didn't know what films he had been in. I didn't look it up either. And so Twister, I definitely know. I haven't seen the full movie, but yeah, I enjoyed this role. I enjoyed him in this.
And I hit you with some stuff. Oh, he was also in Titanic, so maybe you should watch Titanic.
Oh, is he I never actually? Yeah, I don't want to watch Titanic. I'm not going to sit down for 3.5 hours to watch a boat sink. But I think I know he's the guy trying to look for the crown jewel or whatever it is
in present day. So he's the guy who goes down to the bottom of the water and looks through stuff. Yeah.
Right.
The sunken ship.
Sure. Cool.
I think that his biggest moment of brilliance was when he walks to his room. He's just talked to Gary and Wyatt, and Gary's drunk, and Wyatt's yeah, I'm just putting him to bed or whatever. And he walks to his room, turns around, looks back at the boys, and kicks his door open backwards, and then spins and goes inside. And it's that's definitely not scripted, but that is so funny and such a little decision to make. And I thought, I was oh my gosh, brilliant. Now I want to open every door that way.
That'll backfire on you eventually.
I'm just gonna kick it. It's gonna be locked, and I'm just gonna propel myself forward.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. All sorts of pain.
It'd be funny though. It'd be funny. It might be worth it. Might be worth it. Did you catch the product placement? So random. In one of the lines, just the full-on slogan. He says, "This bud's for you."
No, he was great. He was great. I did wonder at the end, these girls, Gary and Wyatt just end up with these girls.
Yeah.
And I think it's it should already be an iffy proposition. We're getting to know you. We don't know you. And then your brother / friend's brother comes into the room with a gun and starts threatening everyone. I think you'd start questioning the relationship right there.
Yeah. Absolutely. And questioning whether or not maybe the cops should be called on on Chet. He went full on to violence in the movie, much more than in the script, I thought. It's probably in the script, I just didn't read it that way. But in the movie, he was just right away oh, my brother stayed out after curfew. I'm going to kill him. I was what?
Yeah. And that's the thing. I try to imagine our brother ever threatening us if we stayed out after curfew, even if he was left in charge of us. I think he just wouldn't care, or he would, or just tell our parents when we were younger. Yeah.
Honestly, probably wouldn't have noticed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Not waiting up for us.
No.
That's right. It's one of those things you only see in movies.
Yeah. So I was most excited to see after they try to make a second girl with Ian and Nameless Friend, and they instead make the missile. I was so excited to see all of the kooky stuff that was going to happen without as advanced CGI as they have today. And I thought everything looked amazing. Totally. It was fantastic. It was just a pleasure to watch. It was great to see all of that stuff come to life and see how everyone reacted to it. Floor upside down, it's snowing in Chet's room, everything. That was really fantastic.
And disappoint. I know we all rail against CGI these days, but I do I'm just going to do it again now. I do think that if they made this film today, they would CGI would be such a crutch that it would reduce the film in certain ways.
Absolutely, I agree with you. This film had to be made in the time that it was made.
I completely agree that those were fun scenes to see both times. The first time when they made Lisa, they also had some weird things happening around the city.
Yeah. A dog on a ceiling, and which I had to go back and be was that in the script? And it was. And
the second time with the missile, that was fun. I'm surprised that they kept the justification that if they had only put the clamps on the Barbie doll, it would have all worked out. Yeah, but no, too bad.
How did the clamps even get on the Time magazine?
They weren't attached, right? They were just beside. They were just lying on top of it.
Oh, okay.
So that was just the first thing in proximity.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. It does stand out to me that the missile in the script and in the film, it's the only thing that Lisa hasn't prepared for. she's surprised by the missile.
Right.
But it works out, so.
That makes sense, though, right? Because that's something that they created outside of her.
Yes, but
everything else she created.
It's just like everything else, like she expects how everyone's going to react. Like she's able to manipulate Ian and other guy and the two girls and Wyatt and Gary. She's able to manipulate the parent, everyone. She's able to control everyone. Like not control literally, but like influence them. But she didn't expect Gary and Wyatt to try to make another woman, which I mean, I think I would have expected that. It worked out the one time.
Yeah.
So I think that it's just like a gap in the script.
Yeah. Totally. One just minor dig that I caught. Gary says when he's talking about this made up girlfriend that he has in Canada, he says girls from Canada have no morals. Like, what? I did not know that we had that reputation against in the States.
I don't know if that was a real thing or if they were just joking. No, it's true. That was funny. So were there any scenes that really like surprised you in the film?
There was one scene that surprised me because I didn't understand what was happening when I read the script. And so then when I saw it come to life on screen, I was like, oh, okay. And that is when the boys are getting ready to go to the club with Lisa and they're wearing suits. And then they walk out of their room and their suits transform.
Right.
I thought that they were wearing Chet's suits the whole time and that they were just fancy suits and they didn't understand how Chet's suits got onto them.
Oh.
It's like I thought it was that they walked out of the room and then they were like, wait, when did we put these suits on? Not, wait, when did Chet's suits that we put on turn into fancier suits? And so I was like pleasantly surprised by that.
For me, I really was surprised and I loved the ending part of the destruction of the house when the biker thugs are leaving and they're just so nice. They're like giving them compliments and like apologizing.
Yeah.
They almost want to be friends. And so I thought that these bikers were people that Lisa actually created, but it seems like they're actual people. Okay. Is it not a chance that they're actual people and she just like brought them there? Even though they have like a mechanical arm. So like obviously they were made up, but it seemed like they were real people too. So. Because didn't one of the guys say
to the actor?
Yeah, but didn't one of the guys say he was normally a banker, like or something like that? He's like a banker during the week, and he just does this on the weekends.
I missed that line, but that's hilarious.
Yeah, it was a fun surprise. Okay, well, Beck, is there anything else that stood out for you in this film?
I mean, I could keep talking for a long time about it. I just really, really enjoyed it, but I think we've hit everything that we can come to an informed opinion on which is better.
Yeah. Okay, so which is better, Beck, the script or the film?
I liked the movie better.
Oh, the movie.
Yeah.
Right.
How about you?
I will also go with the movie this time.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was just cleaner.
Hits on the movie. Yeah, it was cleaner.
Yeah, so with that done, we have a new film, right? What are we taking care of next week, Beck?
Next week, we're going to be doing Willow.
A fantasy film. That's going to be a little different than Weird Science. We're going super science fiction into super fantasy.
And doing some beloved George Lucas.
Beloved George Lucas.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Thanks, Beck.
Thanks, John.